In the United States, your rights are protected in order to allow you to live freely without unfair hardship. You can find your most important rights in a document called the Bill of Rights. This is a set of 10 amendments guaranteeing your rights as a citizen. One of your most important rights for maintaining your freedom comes from the Fifth Amendment, and it is called the Due Process Clause. It states that no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of the law. The specific language of this clause is important. It specifically states that no person can be deprived of their freedoms, belongings, or life unless given a fair opportunity to argue against it. In an ABC News article, they even state that it was decided in a Supreme Court case that all people, even illegal aliens, are guaranteed due process. Getting to our main topic, I'd like to talk about how ongoing deportations have been going throughout the US, the current administration's opinions about due process rights, and how those rights are, in actuality, being violated. The way the Constitution is applied to deportees, specifically how due process is applied, is slightly different than your average citizen. While they may not be given a trial, according to ABC News, they are guaranteed notice and an opportunity to be heard, giving them a chance to fairly argue against the deportation. More specifically, anyone within the US, due to fear of harm in their home country, must get an opportunity in front of a judge in order to be able to appeal that decision, with no sort of fast track available to the government. These are unarguable facts and standards, supported by the Constitution and Supreme Court rulings. Denying anyone these rights would be a violation of the Constitution. However, people have been violating the Constitution. On March 15, 2025, ICE detained and subsequently removed a man named Kilmar Abrigo Garcia, removing him to a mega prison in his home country, El Salvador, named Civics. This place is notorious for torture, crowding, and frequent death, as described by the Human Rights Watch and other similar organizations. His case isn't alone, though. He is one of hundreds sent to this place with no hope for any form of due process to at least argue their case. Kilmar Abrigo Garcia was deported to El Salvador illegally. However, let's all forget for a moment that he was denied notice or an opportunity to be heard. And let's focus on one thing. In 2019, a judge specifically ordered that he could not be sent back to El Salvador in a protection order. This makes him a legal resident, and the government's actions clearly inexcusable. Importantly, ICE knew about this order and sent him there anyways, attempting to excuse their actions as a mere administrative error. Personally, I would like to say, no, that's untrue. This is not an administrative error. However, let's be a little bit more fair and operate under the assumption that they are not lying, that this was in fact an administrative error. You'd assume that they would work to bring back a legal resident who was unlawfully detained and sent back to the very place they were ordered not to be sent back to, correct? Wrong. President Trump has stated in an interview that while he could, he will not be returning him, even though mandated by the Supreme Court and lower courts to facilitate his return and to bring him back. We are currently in a world where you can be detained, not be given a chance to argue against it, and be deported to an infamous mega prison in a country where you're supposedly protected from. Let that sink in for a moment. Anybody could be pulled off the streets and for some bogus reason be sent away without the chance to prove that they are legal residents. If you're detained, you'd wish you'd be able to prove you're a citizen or legal resident, right? Here we are setting the precedent that is not necessary. It violates due process rights as specified by the Constitution. This means that anybody, legal resident, citizen, or other, may be unfairly removed from their home without a chance at recourse. Now, I understand I'm unfairly talking about only one side of this argument, so, in order to be fair, I would like to share the reasoning behind the Trump administration's decisions. Officials claim that Abrigo Garcia is a member of the MS-13 gang, a notorious criminal organization which originated in Los Angeles, California in the 1980s. Now, they claim this because of a gang interview sheet, a document filled out by Maryland police in 2019. In it, police claimed that he was a member of the MS-13 because of the very clothing he was wearing, which they claimed was indicative of Hispanic gang culture. Alongside this, they said they had a confidential informant who is still currently not named as to assess their validity. Now, clothing isn't enough to go off for an arrest of any kind. Neither is a confidential informant. Arrests for criminal cases never use such. Deportations to a notorious megaprison shouldn't either. It's important to note that Abrigo Garcia has no criminal history, having never been convicted of a crime. They also make the point that in 2021, Abrigo Garcia's wife had sought a temporary protective order against him. However, since then, she has had it dismissed. She stated that, after surviving domestic violence in a previous relationship, I acted out of caution after a disagreement with Kilmore. But that after things did not escalate, and I decided to not follow through with the civil court process. This too is not enough to support deportation, especially to a place that was ordered to be too dangerous for him to return to, and to one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. Now, these facts are all revealed to us after he was deported, and he still hasn't been returned in order to argue it himself. In the US, we have a standard called innocent until proven guilty, which means that you cannot be punished for something unless proven to be guilty of it. However, he was sent to CCOT unlawfully, ignoring his due process rights as a legal resident. Now, what has the government done to fix their error? Well, nothing. Instead, they've attempted to delay and litigate the orders that had been placed on them to facilitate his return. They've dragged their feet, and they've done anything possible in order to not return him. This is much more effort and much more taxpayer dollars than it would have been to simply call and have him be returned. The administration has gone so far as to have the judge on April 15th consider placing the administration in contempt, meaning that they could be punished for not following court orders. Due process is a very important right in the US. It guarantees that our other rights are not broken by giving us the chance to argue in defense of ourselves. Even if a person is guilty, in order to avoid the chance that innocent people slip by through the cracks, such as Abrigo Garcia, due process must be followed. The actions of these officials and this administration are irreprehensible. He needs to be returned, and due process needs to be restored.